This is a warning for every survivor, trucker, and gearhead in the archive. Today, a mechanic exposes the 3 Immortal diesel engines that will actually destroy your bank account. We've been told these machines are bulletproof. We've been told they are the only one-wire sanctuaries left in a world of plastic junk. But that is a dangerous lie. Behind the legends of the Detroit Diesel, the Cummins Big Cam, and the Caterpillar 3406, there is a hidden financial trap. A secret mechanical debt that does not come due until the iron starts screaming at 2,100 RPM. These engines are masterpieces, but they are also industrial landmines. They do not just break. They commit financial suicide, and they take your savings with them. In a world where we need iron we can trust, why are the most famous engines in history secretly designed to bankrupt you? Is your immortal sanctuary actually a ticking financial time bomb? That sound is not just noise, it's your money evaporating at 2,100 revolutions per minute. Every Detroit Diesel 671 owner knows the legend, the engine that never dies, the backbone of a million rigs and boats. But when a 671 hits runaway, the legend turns on you. Picture it, the throttle cable snaps, or the governor sticks just once, and the blower starts force-feeding air and fuel in a loop the engine cannot escape. The tack needle leaps past redline. At 2,100 revolutions per minute, the crankcase is screaming, the blower is howling, and the engine is feeding on its own oil. No key, no kill switch, just a mechanical death spiral. I've heard it in the shop. The screech saw pitch climbs past 3,000 hertz, and the block vibrates like it is trying to shake itself off the mounts. A runaway Detroit does not just break pistons. It rips out main bearings, melts rods, and chews up every dollar you thought you were saving. Insurance databases peg the average runaway loss at $45,000. That's before you count the tow, the downtime, and the specialty machining. All it takes is a stuck governor or a fuel leak, and the so-called immortal engine becomes a self-destructing liability. You want to know why the old-timers kept a board handy in the cab? Because sometimes the only way to stop a 671 is to choke it dead. The iron debt is not a myth. It is what happens when mechanical legend meets physics and your wallet is caught in the crossfire. Pull ahead on a Detroit 671 that's been running hard, and you don't need a microscope, just a flashlight and a strong stomach. Liner pitting from sleeve cavitation isn't a rare shop story. It's a line item on every invoice that actually tells the truth. You'll see it plain as day, craters along the sleeve like the moon's surface, except each pit is a $sign waiting to explode. The so-called immortal block is just waiting for coolant to eat its way through, one bubble at a time. A borescope still will show the pitting, but the real punch lands when you tally up the fix. Cylinder kits run $2,400 if you're lucky enough to find new old stock, or $1,300 for a Riemann that might already be halfway to the scrapyard. Labor? Figure 12 to 18 hours, and in 2026, that is $130 to $180 per hour, depending on whether you're stuck on the coast or in the Midwest. That's $1,560 to $3,240 just for hands-on time. And that's before you touch specialty machining, line boring, cylinder refinishing, another $2,200 on the bill. Add it up and you're staring at a $15,000 to $25,000 rebuild for a problem that internet experts call routine maintenance. The iron debt doesn't care about nostalgia. It cares about pitting, labor rates, and whether you've got enough left in the account to keep the lights on after the legend bites back. Every diesel forum has a shrine to the Cummins 855 Big Cam. Ask around and you will hear about the Million Mile Club, guys swearing their 855 cubic inch block will outlive the next 3 owners. The myth goes like this: buy a Big Cam, run it hard, and you will retire before it wears out. But let us get real. The 855 was built to haul 20,000-pound loads at 1,800 RPM, not to survive a lifetime of torque abuse and internet bravado. The spec sheets look bulletproof, over 1,800 pound-feet of torque, a 6.5-inch stroke, block castings thick enough to anchor a tugboat. But torque is a double-edged sword. Every time a rookie floors it up a grade, or a chip tuner cranks the fuel rack, the main bearing caps take a beating. The factory safe limit is 2,200 Newton meters at the crank hub. Go 5% over, and you are already distorting the main journal bores by 1/1000th of an inch. That is enough to start the iron debt clock ticking, even if the engine still sounds healthy. OEM fatigue tests, yes, the ones Cummins does not advertise, show that block life averages 500,000 miles under an 85% duty cycle. At 300,000 miles, the risk of liner pitting and main bearing spalling jumps to over 12% for every 50,000 miles you push it. Ignore the warning signs: low oil pressure, white smoke at idle, a knock under load, and you are not just risking a roadside breakdown. You are buying a ticket to the Align Bore lottery, where a full bottom-end rebuild runs $8,000 to $18,000 if you are lucky. The million-mile lie is not about block metallurgy, it is about the physics of stress and the economics of labor. Internet experts call it built to last. I call it a ticking invoice. The Big Cam is a legend, but legends do not pay the machine shop when the iron debt comes due. Ask the shop foreman, who has seen more than one Immortal 855 leave on a wrecker, invoice in tow, because someone believed reputation was stronger than steel. Shop foreman once told me, every legend leaves a bill. You want bottom-end immortality? Here is the real math. The Cummins 855 Big Cam does not die easy, but it dies expensive. When the main journal bores start to oval out, usually after some rookie has been hammering the throttle on a 20,000-pound load, the Align Bore invoice lands like a sledgehammer. $8,000 if you catch it early. $18,000 if you wait until the crank is chewing itself to pieces. That is before you even get to the valve train, which adds another $2,000 to $6,000 for new cams and followers. Internet forums call it just part of owning a classic. I call it the slow bleed of the iron debt. Most invoices do not break it down, so let us do it here. Parts for an Align Bore, $2,200. Labor, 6 to 8 hours at $150 an hour, standard for $2,026. Unless you are lucky enough to find a backwoods shop still charging $110, you are looking at $900 to $1,200 just for hands-on time. But nobody does just the Align Bore. You will get sold on a full bottom-end refresh while the block is on the stand. Main bearings, rod bearings, crank polish, oil pump, gaskets. By the time you are out the door, you are north of $10,000, and that is if you did not need specialty machining or a tow. Downtime is the real killer. Every day your rig is parked, you are bleeding $1,200 to $1,800 in lost revenue. 5 days for a proper bottom-end job, that is another $6,000 to $9,000 that never hits your account. Add a $200 tow if you broke down on the interstate, $150 for diagnostics, and $75 for shipping parts overnight because the local distributor is out of stock. The iron debt stacks up invoice by invoice until the so-called million-mile lie is just a punchline on a shop calendar. I have watched more than one owner try to nickel and dime their way out of a bottom-end rebuild. They always come back with a bigger bill. The iron debt does not care how many times you have heard these engines run forever. It only cares about hours, rates, and what is left in your checking account after the legend is done with you. Crack open a Caterpillar 3406 block after a few thousand thermal cycles, and the first thing you will notice is not the gold paint, it is the fracture line curling through the water jacket like a tax auditor's signature. They call it the yellow tax for a reason. The legend says these blocks are unbreakable, but under the microscope, the story is different. What you are looking at is not just a casting flaw or a bad batch from Peoria. It is the physics of iron, heat, and time doing what they do best, finding the weak spot and splitting it wide open. Thermal stress is the enemy here, not operator error or some rookie running the oil low. Every time a 3406 fires up from cold, the cast iron block expands faster around the cylinder than it does at the water jacket. That is a recipe for micro cracks, especially where the coolant flows closest to the combustion chamber. Look at a block cross-section and you will see the water jacket hugging the hottest part of the liner, right where the temperature swings hardest. Over a few thousand heat cycles, the metal grains start to drift apart, and the crack begins its slow, invisible march. You will not hear it let go. There is no warning light, no knock, just a slow loss of coolant and a creeping milkiness in the oil. Pull the pan and you will find a hairline fracture running through the webbing, usually just above the main bearing saddle. That is the classic 3406 failure, a block that looks perfect from the outside, but is bleeding you dry from the inside. The shop slang for it is yellow parenthesis, a crescent-shaped crack that means the block is finished as a reliable core. Forget about welding it. Cast iron does not forgive, and the metallurgy on these late 80s blocks is brittle enough to laugh at cold stitch repairs. The only real fix is a replacement block, and in 2026, good luck finding one that is not already heat-soaked or sleeved 3 times over. Every old-timer will tell you it is just part of owning a cat. What they will not say is that every one of those cracks is a bill waiting to land, a silent IOU from the iron debt, stamped in yellow and payable in full. The phone rings at 7:42 a.m. It is not a customer, it is a Riemann dealer, voice flat as a torque wrench. Blocks toast. You want a Cat 3406 core? That's $30,000 if you can find one. The words hit harder than any cracked webbing. That's not a typo, not a padded estimate, not some shop's scare tactic. That's the going price in 2026 for a real, usable Cat 3406 long block after a midlife failure. The invoice does not care how much you loved the engine or how many stories you have heard about cat blocks running forever. It just wants payment in full. Here is the ugly truth. Core scarcity is the new normal. Every salvage yard is picked clean. The few blocks that have not been sleeved 3 times or welded by hacks are hoarded like gold. Riemann shops are quoting 6 to 8 weeks minimum, maybe longer if you are west of the Mississippi. Try to cut corners and you will get a core that is already halfway to the grave. One rep put it blunt: you are not buying a rebuild, you are buying time before the next crack. That $30,000 figure is not just for parts. Labor rates have climbed to $150 an hour, and the job is not a Saturday wrench session. You are paying for 20 hours of block prep, specialty machining, and the privilege of waiting while your truck bleeds revenue on the lot. Add $2,500 for the tow, $1,200 for diagnostics, another $900 for shipping, and you are staring at a bill that would buy you a down payment on a new rig. All for the privilege of keeping a legend alive. Some call it the yellow tax, the price of owning a cat with a pedigree. But the badge does not keep your wallet safe. The iron debt is indifferent. The old days when you could score a core for a handshake and a case of beer are over. Now every buyer stands at the same fork: pay the $30,000 ransom or walk away from the legend. That is the real engine killer: scarcity, labor, and a market that knows exactly how much nostalgia costs. The iron debt always gets paid. You want to dodge the iron debt before it lands? Forget the folklore, start with 3 tests that do not care about legend or paint. First, the boroscope. Slide it down the intake, and you are not looking for fairy tales, you are hunting for pitting, scoring, or that telltale moon crater effect on the liners. If you see rust freckles or coolant tracks, that is a $10,000 invoice hiding behind every piston. No runs, great sticker, ever fixed sleeve cavitation. Next up, compression and leak down. The factory spec for a healthy Detroit or Cummins is no more than 10 to 15% spread from cylinder to cylinder. Anything wider, and you are gambling with burnt valves or cracked rings. Leak down gets even less forgiving. 20% is the cutoff. More than that, and you are not buying an engine, you are buying a project. I have seen internet experts brag about 30% leak down like it is a badge of honor. In my world, that is a red tag and a phone call to the bank. Oil analysis is the third rail. Pull a sample, send it to the lab, and wait for the printout. You want a base number above 7, metal counts in the single digits, and 0 glycol. If the lab tech calls you back, it is never good news. High copper means bearing wear, and you are on the express train to a $15,000 bottom-end rebuild. Silicon means dirt past the air filter, grinding your engine from the inside out. Every one of these tests costs less than a night in a cheap motel. Skip them and iron debt will find you. I have watched too many tough guys skip the science, buy on faith, and end up with a legend that eats their savings. The only thing immortal about these engines is the bill if you do not check the numbers. Here's the buy or walk rule, and it's not up for debate. Before you even think about wiring cash for a so-called Immortal Diesel, set aside $300 to $600 for a real inspection, a bore scope inspection, a compression test, a leak down test, and a full oil analysis. That's not a suggestion. That's the bare minimum to keep the iron debt from sneaking up on you. Skip it, and you might as well hand the seller your checkbook and your next 3 paychecks. Every one of these engines, the Detroit 671, Cummins 855 Big Cam, and the Cat 3406, was built to pull a 20,000-pound load. They were not built to run forever on faith and Facebook wisdom. If you find anything ugly in the inspection, liner pitting, leak down over 20%, copper in the oil, or a cylinder that reads low, walk. Don't bargain, don't haggle, don't let nostalgia cloud your judgment. That one red flag is a $15,000 to $30,000 risk, and the iron debt doesn't negotiate. Here's the math. You can spend $500 now, or you can spend $25,000 later. There's no third option. If the engine passes all 3 tests, you've bought yourself a fighting chance. If it fails even one, you're buying a project, not a legend. Don't let the badge or the paint fool you. Every old block is 1 bad hour away from a catastrophic invoice. The only thing more expensive than a thorough inspection is the lesson you'll learn if you skip it. Take it from a mechanic who has seen every kind of heartbreak. The iron debt always gets paid. Pay a little now or pay everything later. That's the rule. That's the only rule that matters. Today, the 855 cubic inch legend and the 60 pounds per square inch promise sound great until you see the invoice. The iron debt doesn't care about nostalgia or screaming Jimmy folklore. It comes due in shop hours and $20,000 breakdowns. In 2026, the real Immortal is the repair bill, not the block. Make sure you know which side of the wrench you are on. Drop your war stories below and let's keep it honest.